I work on a deep-sea mining vessel. We have rules that must never be broken. I just wrapped up my offshore engineering certification when the offer came through. A contract with Leviathan Deep, one of the last remaining deep-sea mining vessels still active past the mid-Atlantic ridge. My sister called me insane. My dad just shook his head. But me, I was thrilled. Adventure had a new name, and it was Leviathan. The helicopter buzzed toward the coordinates in the open sea, a 6-hour flight from the Azores. The ocean below was endless, black as tar. I pressed my face against the window, grinning like a child on his first roller coaster ride. The rig came into view, a monstrous, angular shape rising from the waves. It wasn't just large, it was impossibly huge, stretching out with arms like an insect clinging to the sea. When my boots touched down, the noise was deafening. The hum of machinery made the steel deck vibrate beneath me. Salt mixed with diesel in the air. A small group waited, men and women in different colored uniforms. "Over here," a voice bellowed. A short man with a cybernetic arm and wild salt-streaked hair waved me over. "You the new structural tech?" "Yes, sir. Milo Vance." "Call me Renzo," he said, slapping a small silver medallion into my palm. It was etched with what looked like a squid-headed lion devouring a man. "Wear it. Shower, sleep, whatever. Keep it on, no exceptions." He didn't wait for questions. The tour began immediately. The corridors were narrow, the ceilings low, the walls sweating with condensation. Renzo barked out explanations about emergency drills, shift cycles, oxygen systems. Then, just before we reached the mess hall, he stopped. "That," he said, pointing down a dim hallway where a black door stood shut with chains crisscrossed over it, "is the bulkhead. Rule number 2, never open it. Not for noise, not for voices, not even for a damn fire." I raised an eyebrow. "What's in there?" "Nothing we want waking up." The mess hall was quiet that night. I met my roommate, Cassidy, a soft-spoken mechanic who rarely made eye contact, and 2 other new hires, Raj, a diving specialist from Goa, and Elise, a robotics tech who had worked in Antarctica. We bonded over bad coffee and better paychecks. Weeks passed. I learned the layout. I learned the rhythm. I memorized the rules. Always wear the silver medallion. Never approach the bulkhead. Do not look at the water past midnight. Do not speak during drill operations unless spoken to. No meat is to be consumed on Sundays. If the bell rings 4 times, report to a safe zone. Renzo taught me those, but the crew whispered of another, rule number 7, only spoken of in hushed tones. Then came the first event. I was replacing a support joint near the main intake valve when I felt the air shift, like the vessel was breathing. The lights dimmed, my comms cut out. I turned around and saw Elise staring at the water through a porthole. "Elise?" I called. She didn't respond. I walked over. She didn't blink. Her nose bled slightly. "What are you looking at?" She whispered, "They're swimming. Upward." Renzo appeared behind me and pulled me away. "Did she look outside after midnight?" "I think so," I said. "Then we wait." 30 minutes later, Elise collapsed in her bunk, convulsing. The medics tried everything, but she wouldn't wake up. That night, the crew wrapped her in thermal blankets and locked her in an isolation chamber. She died at 3:33 a.m. Her eyes were still open. Renzo didn't speak at the funeral. He only made us repeat rule number 3 in unison. The weeks dragged. The nights got colder. I saw things from the corner of my eye. shapes climbing the hull from the outside, barnacles that pulsed like hearts, water that glowed green under moonlight. Then, on a Sunday, I walked into the kitchen early. Too early. I found Cassidy and two others tossing uncooked meat into a steel drum. The meat hissed as it landed. Oil, thick, black crude, sloshed at the bottom. They stirred it with wooden sticks etched in symbols I didn't recognize. That night the vessel tilted violently 3 times. No explanation was given. On the 90th day of our tour, the bells rang 4 times. The crew froze. "Safe rooms, now!" someone shouted. I followed Renzo down a lower corridor. The room was cold, walls covered in glyphs that shimmered faintly. As the steel door sealed shut, a knock came from outside. "Let me in, please." It was Raj. His voice cracked. He screamed that he had overslept, that it wasn't fair, that he had done 5 tours. The crew didn't move. Renzo whispered to me, "Rule number 6, Milo. Never ignore the bell." "I know that," I snapped, "but he's one of us." Renzo didn't flinch. "He's already marked." Raj screamed until he didn't. A wet, grinding sound replaced his voice. And then, the groan. The deep, ancient groan that rose from the hull like something awakening from sleep. The floor shook, the lights dimmed. On the wall, the painted glyphs started moving. I saw one symbol, a spiral of eyes, blink in sequence. Then silence. The door unlocked. We were allowed to return to our cabins. Outside there was blood and black oil smeared across the steel like brushstrokes. Raj was gone. Only his watch remained, ticking. On the final night before we left, Renzo brought me a drink. He was pale, tired. "You ever wonder why they pay us so well?" he asked. "Because we're disposable," I half joked. He didn't laugh. "Tomorrow's the raffle," he said. Final rule. Rule number 7. Everyone attends. The raffle was held on the main deck. The crew gathered in a circle. A cage spun with name tags inside. One name was pulled. Cassidy. She screamed. They held her down, made her drink a cup of thick black oil, the same kind I saw in the drum. She vomited, and from it, the technicians dipped brushes and began repainting symbols along the perimeter. Renzo stood beside me, gripping my arm. "If you ever win the raffle," he whispered, "fight it, or surrender quickly, but don't try to run." I watched as Cassidy was taken to the bulkhead. The door unchained itself. She was pushed inside. It closed, and somewhere far below, something purred. I'm home now, for a while, but the sea still calls. My contract renews in 2 weeks, and I don't have the money to back out. They said adventure had a name. Turns out it's Leviathan, and it never lets you leave for good.